Hello everyone. Today, the Blue Light Hotspot, we are going to be focusing on Malaysia. And Malaysia started coming through a few weeks ago, but before I could really share with you about what's happening at that blue light level in Malaysia, the blue light beings really wanted me to talk about Atlantis and wanted me to talk about Lemuria, and then last week wanted me to talk about Portugal. So you are all welcome to go back and look at those Blue Light Hotspot stories that kind of build up to this one in Malaysia. So when I went to tune into Malaysia at that kind of high frequency intuitive psychic level, I was immediately shown this enormous body of water. And it was almost like this, kind of like a geyser coming up right up through the middle. And it was this blue light that was just shooting straight up through the water. There was this bubbling, or almost like these waves that were going out and hitting land all the way around. I later found out that that is I think it's the Sea of China, and that there are many islands all around that are not just Malaysia, but Spirit was telling me there are several countries that kind of border Malaysia, and so that's what we will also be including in this particular blue light hotspot. So that body of water is called the South China Sea. So when I asked, I kind of looked up to see what are all the land masses that are around this blue geyser that's coming out and sending waves of blue out to these different countries. There's the country of, I think it's Brunei, B-R-U-N-E-I. There's also Borneo, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, and of course the big focus is on Malaysia. So all of those countries are really being infused, and they're also really embracing the blue light. And what Spirit is telling me is that those countries have been fully aware of this blue frequency for many, many, many years. And so, yeah, it's quite exciting. But there were more bodies of water other than just the South China Sea. There's also the Indian Ocean and the Andaman Sea. So there are many bodies of water, lots and lots of islands in these countries. I really invite you, if you're not familiar with those countries, to go ahead and look them up and just see how beautiful and unique and ancient those areas are. So Albert Einstein said, when you look deep into nature, that's where all the answers will be found. So Albert Einstein said that, and this is very fitting for what's coming through in relationship to Malaysia. Did you know that Malaysia has 4 World Heritage Sites? Now, at that intuitive level, there is one site specifically that came through, and I was really able to tap in and feel into an enormous depth of nature, almost like this enormous depth of the underworld. It really seems like the earth definitely is coming alive. As this frequency of blue comes through, it's able to help the earth expand in consciousness. As it's expanding in consciousness, what has been hidden is being revealed. Now, we do know from the information that's been coming through is that there's more archaeological sites that are being revealed. There's more pyramids that have been hidden are going to be revealed over the next several years. But there's this particular area in Malaysia that is very much a part of this kind of mystical, magical underworld. So as you tune in intuitively, what Spirit is really encouraging us to do is to feel, experience that richness of the earth, of the mystical and the magical underworld that is also of a very high frequency. It's just an earthly frequency that will be coming up through our kind of our root up through our own feet, up through our legs, up through the lower part of our body, really awakening us to the sounds of nature. I'm also saying waking up to the sounds of silence. And so there's this deep inner silence that's pulsating through the earth, through these kind of Asian countries, through this blue light. There's a lot that's being activated. So when I'm asking how is that going to translate at a global level, what the blue beings of light are saying how that's going to translate is that you may find yourself having different relationships with plants, with trees, with fruit trees, with bushes, with vegetable plants, with all kinds of that organic plant life, as well as fungi and mushrooms and tree barks and leaves and pine cones and that we're going to have a different relationship. We're going to see it more as a relationship with each other, not kind of we're humans and you're trees. It's like we're all going to be coming together in a more seamless way. I always say we're stronger together than we are apart, and that means much more than humanity. We're really starting to connect with the waters and nature. So what was coming through is that Malaysia has 4 very large ancient world heritage sites, and one of them is known, it's the largest cave chamber in the world. I had no idea. The largest cave chamber in the world, and it is known as the Clear Water Cave of the Winds. I love that. The Clear Water Cave of the Winds, which is located in the Gunung Mulu World Heritage Site. What else did I write? Yeah, the World Heritage Site, Gunung Mulu. So what ended up, there were several things that came through when I felt into it. I could really feel the richness of the earth. I can feel conversation. I can feel as if there's a lot of earth beings that are having major gatherings, a major communication. They are communicating with many of the earth beings around the world. So the keepers of the land, it's like they're having these large gatherings as they are planning, as the earth is awakening. And what they are telling me is that they are planning their return to the surface of the earth, that long ago it was almost too dangerous for them to remain on the surface, so they went underground, and this very large cave is one of those openings, portals to the underground. I'm also being told that this particular cave system is a very healing cave system, that anyone that goes there and is able to visit the cave, visit the waters, visit the land there, are having enormous shifts in energy, as if would be awakened to your earthly connection in a way you never have been before. But I'm always saying, well, it's not always convenient for everyone to travel to Malaysia. And so are there other ways that we can be activated by that blue celestial light that's coming up through the earth and those ancient healing properties? And they said, yes, you can find a picture, you can meditate on it, and really invite the earthly beings, that frequency, to come through to help activate you so that you can have a stronger connection with nature. Now, this is one of the big things. I kept hearing a siren in the background. So it was like almost this kind of hauntingly beautiful siren type sound. Now, I live near a trauma hospital. I hear sirens all the time, but this is definitely otherworldly, other dimensional. I also have a strong feeling about mermaids. Now, in almost every blue light hotspot, mermaids have come up as being part of the frequency that is infusing humanity in the world. Now, in the ancient Syrian tradition, from the planet Sirius, there is those conversations where the Syrians were part fish, they came out of the waters, and that they came through the waters when they first came to Earth, and then they would come on to land and impart their teachings. So the mermaids, even though they are of the depths of the sea, of the oceans, of the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean and the, what was the other one? I can't remember, Andaman Sea, that they are still very much a part of the underworld, the ancient wisdom and knowledge of the underworld. But they are still also participating in the high level of knowledge that's coming from Atlantis and coming from Lemuria. There are very ancient connections here with nature. So they have these kind of jungles, they have these forests that are quite magical, that have been untouched. So I invite you to go look at those photographs as well to help you in your meditation. So I could feel the mermaids, I could hear sirens, and it was talking about the information that was coming through, again, this healing frequency that's coming from the mermaids. So it's a healing frequency that's coming from the mermaids. Let's see. So I went and looked up mermaids in Malaysia, and what came up was that there's a certain type of mermaid. There's the beautiful mermaids that are very loving and very uplifting and very healing, but I've never heard of this before, so if maybe you have, but they're called sirens. So they're a particular type of mermaid, they're called sirens, and so when I was reading about the siren mermaids, everything that I was reading about them was that they were evil, that they have very sharp gnashing teeth, that they would sing the ships, the ships wanted to follow the sound, this kind of siren type sound, melodious, ancient, mystical, and then the ships would crash against the rocks of the shore at night, or they would sing this kind of mystical, magical siren type sound, and the sailors would want to jump into the waters to be with them, only to be killed. And so I really meditated on this more, and what I was being told was that it's not that their nature was just evil, as some people have described, but in actuality they battle evil, that it is their nature, kind of a warrior type nature, to, if there's a lot of, I would say, evil or a lot of darkness, maybe a lot of overpowering, maybe a lot of colonialism that may have happened, maybe other countries. So Malaysia has been attacked by many other cultures, and so who knows if that's the type of evil that it's being talked about. But there is a group of mermaids that are called sirens, so I invite you to look those up. They can be hauntingly beautiful and hauntingly frightening in some of the images, and so I just invite you to be open-minded. But there are many mermaids in the area. There was a time, I have a story, I went to visit my sister and her family, my nephews and brother-in-law, when they lived in Singapore. And while we were there, we took this ferry ride over to an area in Indonesia that was right on the water. It had all these little huts right on the water, on the docks. And so it's like, they have these floors, but you could look straight down into the water. They have these little balconies. And I remember when I was sitting there, I had just come from Nepal. I had my eyes closed and I was just letting myself get really quiet because I'd been busy for a few weeks. And all of a sudden I could hear the pitter-patter of little feet. And I opened my eyes and I kind of looked this way and this way. Finally, I just turned and looked behind me, and there were probably about 50 little people that were no more than, 6 to 8 inches tall, They looked like little humans. They had on little clothes. And my clairvoyant sight was able to take a look at them. And I said, "Oh, hello." And they said, "Hi, we're so excited that you're here. We've been waiting for you." So on some level at that frequency, they knew that I was coming. But here's the thing. I didn't even know I was coming. My sister surprised me by booking this trip to Indonesia. So I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm here visiting for a few days and I get to spend time with my nephews. Is there anything I can do to offer support in exchange? Would you like me to do any land healing?" And they were like, "Oh, no, no, no. We know that you are here to rest. And so we're not going to interfere with that at all. But we're so excited. We wanted to see you in person. We just wanted to say hello." And then they disappeared. So it was later on that there was a manager in the kitchen. And I said, I called the manager over and I said, "Have you ever noticed little people around?" And his eyes got like this big. And he said, I can't talk about this. I'll talk to you about this later." And so later on, we kind of went off to our little corner where we could be a little bit quieter. And he said, Ma'am, please, would you not say that out loud? Would you not say that at all to anybody else? And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because our staff live so at the end of the dock is where the staff lived in staff housing." And he said, "I would come to work in the morning and they would, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they'd all be sleeping on the dock. They didn't want to be in the jungle in their own housing because they said the little people were coming in and waking them up and frightening them." And so we were telling them there was no such thing as little people. So remember, I'm talking about this area of Malaysia and the surrounding countries is very rich with the earthly underworld of beings. I didn't know that at the time. And so he said that it kept happening over and over again. The staff were losing sleep. They were getting more frightened. They were all going to quit their jobs. So you can imagine there's an enormous international community that comes to stay there. So they flew in, the owners of the property, they flew in to come talk to the staff. They assured the staff that there was literally no such thing as little people. So now you have me come along and I'm like, "Oh, the little people came to greet me and welcome me." And he was like, "If you say anything at all the staff will be on boats and they will be leaving this island and they will never come back again. And we will never be able to get staff ever, ever, ever again." So needless to say, I didn't say anything. But then on the same trip, I was there for about a week, was sitting out quietly meditating on a little dock. It's like a little lanai area outside, and it goes over the water. It was quite stunning. And suddenly I could feel mermaids all around. And then I saw what's called a white dolphin, or maybe they're called the pink dolphin. So you can look those up, but they're only in one place in the whole world. So this pink dolphin came by, but I felt this enormous mermaid energy. So again, I went back out and I talked to the manager. It was actually the morning that we were leaving. And I said, "Do you ever experience mermaids around here?" And he was just like, "Oh my God." He's like, "Please don't say anything. Please, please, please." Yes, he said the folklore of mermaids is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. In Malaysia, the mermaid is highly, highly revered. So I share that story with you because I had no concept when I was there. And as a matter of fact, I had completely forgotten those stories until I knew I was going to be talking about Malaysia today. So the documentation about the mermaids is over 5,000 years old. They do talk about the tears of the mermaids have extremely healing qualities to them. Mermaids have high levels of healing powers, and so you can meditate with the mermaid energy for those healing powers. There is an island there, Palau Du Yang, which is an island called Mermaid Island, and they say that's where the mermaids live, but that they can also come from that deep cave that I said, the largest chamber cave in the world. Again, they have the sirens. The sirens have folklore that is very frightening, but when I went to tune in, it's like, well, if they're going to fight evil, they're going to have to maybe look a little scary. You know, we call that the game face. If we've got to set a boundary, we're going to put our game face on. So those are the sirens. But I did write the dark, edgy sisters of the mermaids. The dark, edgy sisters of the mermaids. And it's like they are described as profoundly immoral. But if you think about evil, or you just think about humans who just live in the dark shadows, and they do evil, corrupt things, it's like they're not very moral, are they? And so it's like almost like the sirens believe they have to get a little immoral to cross over and battle the darker forces that may be on the earth with humanity or any other cultures. So what I just want to add about this, about Malaysia, it's an extremely beautiful country. All of those countries around are very beautiful, very mystical, very magical. There is that bubbling fountain geyser of blue light that's coming up from the earth. There is the earthly activation that's happening. So I invite you all to the Intuitive Archaeologist to really see if you can find out more about the folklore, find out more about the mermaids, maybe even more about the sirens. Tap in. Do they feel frightening to you, or do they feel protective to you? I think for each person they might show up a little bit differently. But I'm really excited to share Malaysia and the surrounding countries of Brunei, Borneo, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, and Malaysia, the area of Malaysia. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's Blue Light Hotspot, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the next one. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.